All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this month's Trust Lab. I am so excited to be able to have a conversation with a dear friend, a mentor, a confidant, somebody who I met a couple of years ago, and it was a connection that was made through another close friend named Dr. Katie Irvin. And Dr. Katie Irvin said, Brad, you and Cory, you need to meet, and we said, well, let's get together. We gathered at Ginger Sue's, which is one of those classic diners in downtown Liberty, Missouri, and Brad drove up from Olathe, and it just feels like we had been friends for many, many years, and that was just a continuation of our conversation. But that began a journey for us where I found in Brad somebody who has probably one of the most grounded perspectives on the topic that we're going to be talking about today, which is what trust within ourselves looks like. And not in an egotistical or an arrogant way at all, but kind of that authentic reflection and understanding of like, who are we? What is it that we need to be about? What are our values? What does integrity look like? When we think about the word legacy, what does legacy mean? And we all know that the best legacies are not the ones that are all about ourselves. The legacies that we are the that we benefit most from are the ones where people have set the stage for so many more things to occur, even in their absence. All of those things, whether it's work related or life related or whatever the case may be. The other thing that I'm excited to share with you all is this is very deliberate in terms of actually, I'm currently in the midst of writing my second book, and the second book is focused on what I call the seven layers of trust. And the outer layer is transactional trust, then it moves into interpersonal trust, then it moves into organizational trust, structural trust, relational trust, emotional trust, and the innermost layer of trust. And it's the only one that points the gaze back at ourself is the layer of self-trust. So with that, Brad, it is wonderful for you to join us today. Thank you for being here, for taking the time, and would love to give you just a moment and an opportunity to introduce yourself and share a little bit more about who you are and what you're all about.
First of all, thanks, Cory. Super honored to be a part of this conversation. Appreciate our friendship, man. Like Katie, that's a Jedi connection from Katie. So that was fantastic. But so I I worked at a church for 6 years. I moved to Kansas City, worked at a church for 6 years, got a degree in that, um, and started doing work on myself and my story that I didn't even know needed to happen in 2002. And that has been a growing progression in my life. And then I was privileged to go through this immersive experience called Breakthrough, this seminar called Breakthrough. And I'll just tell you a little about me. Like I am an Enneagram 7/8. So like have fun, GSD, like have fun. Let's get out, but like, let's have fun, but I want to get stuff done for sure. And, and, so people were encouraging me to go to this immersive, and if somebody tells me the next book to read that's going to change my life, or movie to watch, or whatever that's going to change my life, I am going to vomit. That's what I thought. It's like, I'm so frustrated, but that frustration is always preceding a threshold. And I didn't know that then. And so I reluctantly went through this immersive with an organization called Heart Connection Seminars, and it was truly transformative. I'd never done anything like it. And so did that, and I'll get into that story a little bit, but started a coaching business, was asked if I wanted to lead Heart Connection. And I was familiar with a lot of Tony Robbins' work, and said yes to that. So I had 7-8 years where I had the privilege of leading a nonprofit. Basically, it was almost dead too. So where it was a really flourishing place. Led it through COVID, which was, we do in-person immersive experiences. And so COVID hits. I'm like, boy, I don't remember learning about how to deal with this in college. And and decided to step away from that. And now I'm in the process of starting my own business where it's called the Way Home Coaching, Consulting, and Immersives, where we get to do this for leaders, culture developers. We get to go into businesses and do tailored immersives, tailored consultative work. I think I counted the other day 175 different exercises, tools that I've been a part of, either, leading or facilitating in some capacity or another. But yeah, I'm 49. I told Cory before we jumped on here, if you had told me 8 years ago that I was going to have a kid, I would have had a panic attack. And I've got a 6-year-old, and I love it. I love being a dad. I love leading. I love helping people who want to grow and transform their story in their life. So
it's awesome. Brad, let's dive right in.
Okay.
Tell us about the cave and why the cave is so deeply connected to trust within.
So a core thread or core flag in the ground for my life and the work I get to do with the Way Home is the cave you fear holds the treasure you seek. And what I tell people is that if you feel stuck in your life, if you feel like that you're stuck in a story, you feel like you're stuck in whatever it is you're stuck in, and then I ask them, what's whispering to you that you've been reluctant to acknowledge? Often, if they say, well, I don't know, what the cave is, then I'll ask that question. Usually they know. And in my experience, there's real fear there. And in my story, in my experience, that is the way home. Everything you actually want in your life is in the cave you fear. And I'll share some of that. I'll dive into that story, Cory. 2 years into my marriage, got married in 2000, July 2000. 2 years into my marriage, my wife would say weird stuff like, I love you. And I would say, oh yeah, me too. Love you. Like, yeah. Love you. Nothing vulnerable, nothing real. And luckily, one day, 2002, I got curious instead of judgmental, which is way different from me. Like I am, if you're looking for self-judgment, like someone who has mastered self-judgment, boy, like I got a master's degree in that. Okay. And whatever happened on that day, in that moment, I was thankfully curious. And I asked myself, it's like, why is it so hard for me to say 3 words? And I knew that I did. I knew that I did love her. But why is that so hard for me to say that to her? What is that? And that curiosity took me into breakthrough. It took me into doing work in the cave for me. It took me into some work on trauma in my life. It took me on some work on pain in my life, acknowledging pain. It took me work on experiencing real joy, and to own what was mine to own in my story, and to not own what was not mine to own. Here's the real truth. I didn't trust myself to be seen. I did not trust myself to be seen. There was a story about the stories we tell ourselves end up telling our stories.
Say that again.
The story we tell ourselves ends up telling our stories.
So what was the story that you were telling yourself at that time?
The story I was telling myself at that time, when I really got to it, was, I don't know how to love her. I am not a loving person. Like, I am incapable of this. Does that make sense?
It does.
Like, that was a story. Like, this is who I am, right? And that was a story I was telling myself, and that was telling my story. And I would say this. If you change your story, you change your life.
Mm.
Part of my story was, if I'm honest about it, was that I was in a tragedy with some of my life experience growing up, and there was some of it I didn't want to look at. I was afraid to look at. Okay. Because I thought, all the things like what's the point? Like, it's useless. It's not going to lead anywhere, blah, blah, blah. And when I made a decision to say, okay, like, I don't have to change any of the facts of my life. I don't have to change any of the facts of the data points of my life. I can decide how I tell it. I can decide what I'm in. Am I in a tragedy? Am I in a heroic adventure? Same facts. The difference is who is narrating it.
Yeah.
Previously, I was kind of narrating uh, my life third hand. Self trust is the decision to take the pen back in your story.
Yeah, and when you say that, so I talk a lot about the two critical variables of trust are truth and belief. There's
Hmm.
objective truth and there's subjective truth. Objective truth is like gravity. It's like the time on the clock, like it's just objectively true. It's the data that we can measure.
Yep.
Subjective truth is much more challenging. You and I are big Richard Rohr fans, and when he
Yep.
talks about subjective truth, we know that we are pursuing better subjective truth when the person that we are pursuing that subjective truth with, we are willing to reconcile discrepancies with them. It's when you're looking at something subjectively that's nuanced, when there's no willingness to reconcile discrepancies, then there is no pursuit of truth, even if that truth is subjective. And
Right.
so I'm curious. I'd love to get your response to this, and I may have shared this with you several months ago when I had this encounter, but I met in North Kansas City at the Starbucks across from the North Kansas City Hospital with a child psychologist.
Hmm.
And I don't know, she picked up my book and she wanted she wanted me to send her a copy of my book. And I was like, I'll bring you a copy of my book. It's fine. Like, we're both in Kansas City, not a big deal. And we sat
Yep.
down and we had a cup of coffee. So one of her areas of research is she has been studying how unresolved childhood trauma
Hmm.
now manifests for many people in the workplace. And so here's a
Yep.
challenge for everybody listening. Maybe you have some unresolved trauma from childhood. And what you're experiencing right now is that unresolved childhood trauma, it's manifesting in the workplace. And it feels familiar because it's something that you experienced or it's being caused by something that occurred many, many years ago. Now,
Hmm.
also think about this from a leadership standpoint. You may be a leader in an organization and the behaviors that you are noticing. I feel like there are four critical components of it's the core of culture in a workplace.
Hmm.
CORE, so it's an acrostic. C stands for conduct, behaviors. O stands for operations, policies, practices. R stands for resources. The more resources, the less resources, the unleveraged resources, whatever it is. And then E stands for evaluation or accountability. Those are like the four critical core components of culture. But the first one, conduct, is such a challenging one because conduct is informed by so much as people are bringing in these components into the workplace. So, for example, one of my unresolved childhood traumas for many, many years was the fact that I was always the last to know.
Hmm.
Always. I was the youngest child. I was fragile emotionally. I had significant mental health challenges in middle school, so much so that I went into a season where I was ultimately institutionalized for 90 days, 100 miles from my house. Very fragile, and because of that, I was protected and I was the last to know. And not out of ill intent, but that childhood trauma, not being able to process that for decades,
Hmm.
really affected how I showed up in the workplace. It affected my own self-trust. It affected my almost like paranoia, like, why am I not a part of that meeting? Why did they not ask me to do this? Why can't
Yeah.
I lead that project? I want to be, in that position or that title, whatever the case may be. And so I want to challenge those who are on this Zoom call. Number one, to look inward. Is there anything that's unresolved that's now manifesting in the workplace for you individually? But number two, are you observing? Are you noticing other team members where perhaps what you were experiencing from a conduct is not necessarily the here and now? It's actually being formed by something decades ago. And so we would love to get your thoughts, Brad, on that and then why it's so critical to do the cave work. And then maybe kind of walk us through how do you do the cave work?
The first thing that comes to my mind is it's such a power tool and a gift to have curiosity over judgment. Like the first thing that comes to my mind, and I'm saying this as someone who I did not do that. I had not done that for a lot of my life and a lot of leadership. So like I remember my therapist saying to me, so I played, plenty of sports in high school. I remember her saying to me, she said, she didn't ask me if they did. She said, do you know why when you were playing against other teams and they would talk crap to you, it never bothered you? And she didn't say it. I was like, how'd you know that? How'd you know that? And I said, I don't. She said, because nobody's saying anything nearly as hard and as bad as what you say to yourself.
Wow.
In fact, you are like, boy, that's the best you got. That's the best you got.
You should hear what's going on in here.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like if I said what I'm thinking right now for myself and you, like I could probably send you to therapy in 2 days. Right. But that's how I treated myself. And that was the first time I realized that. So like just connecting the dots, Cory, on the cave you fear. Like, so, I thought successfully suppressed, pain and trauma with my dad growing up. And that was a big part of the work. That was a big part of going in the cave for me was looking at the reality for me when I was 6 and dad left, when I was 12 and there was an abusive moment. And then realizing that, and then me making a story up in my mind that somehow it was my fault. Like that was the story. I didn't even realize it. Like that was a story I made up in my mind. And so then like how that dot connected to why is it so hard for me to be vulnerable with someone about loving them that I actually love. Right. And then a dot connected on that. So like, how did I show up in leadership back then? One of the behaviors that I chose, I didn't know I was choosing it back then, but now I know I did, was like, I would quote, be the nice guy. So like I would hardly ever have clear, hard, empathetic conversations with people. And does that make like that dot connection? Okay, like how does this draw the line to this? How does this come to this? And thankfully we're in a place where, kind of old school leadership is you put your, work hat on here, you put your dad hat on here, your mom hat on here, you put like, we know that's BS. Yeah. Right? Like we know that causes a ton of anxiety. Like integration, an integrative life is you learn who you are, as you are, where you are, and you show up authentically in this place. And what's expected of you is different in every place. But like I get to show up authentically in all of these spaces. So that's, then who is that person? Who am I? And that's.
So Brad, you've worked with, and I actually just connected the dots. Now I know why you call your podcast the Dotcast. Like,
oh yeah.
Okay, now like that only took me 3 years to figure out on my end. So there you go. Which by the way, I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, but the Dotcast is amazing. And Brad how many years have you been doing that, Brad?
I think that's 2012.
Right.
2013.
So like you're like one of the OG podcasters.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's tools and stories.
Yeah.
It's just tools and stories,
Yeah.
and
It's so
and
good.
yeah.
So
So
you've either interviewed, you've done breakthroughs, you've interacted with, I mean, literally thousands of leaders.
mhm.
When you think about like what are the one or two things, so think about it within like a even a professional context. What are the one or two things that prevent leaders from entering into the cave conversation, entering into the cave realm?
So I'll share a story. The first thing comes to my mind. I'll refer to this guy later because he's on my board. But I was sharing with him about my experience going through this seminar called Breakthrough, and he's started and led successfully 2 or 3 companies and like was a CEO. And he told me, he's like, man, I don't know about going to that. And what he said was, this is going, if I do work like that, it's going to take away my leader's edge. That's what he told me.
Wow.
And I laughed. I was like, bro, that's a story, dude. I was like, that is an interesting story you're telling yourself. That's an interesting story you're telling yourself. What I don't hear you saying is it could enhance your leadership in ways that you never believed possible.
Hmm.
And I think it's just my work, like my engagement with some folks. I've conversations like, hey man, you like we want to have maximum profitability in our company. Awesome. Then you do your work. So that's the answer. That's the answer. Like I want to know how to be the best leader I can be. Okay, cool. Like you do your work.
Hmm.
You do your work. And then you'll attract the type of people that you want. They'll want to stay. Like you'll create the culture that you want to create. All those dominoes fall. But you doing your work, me doing my work, ongoing work, by the way, is totally connected to the cave you fear and the treasure you seek.
Yeah, it's good.
Um, and I was, I mean, man, I was very afraid. I was very afraid at what I didn't know. I was afraid of. I'll tell you this. One of the core lies. We're going to get to this in a minute. One of the core lies I believed that I acquired was I'll never be enough.
Hmm.
No matter what I do, no matter how well I do it, no matter how many people like it, no matter how many people listen to this, no matter how many people come to these things, no matter how many kudos, it doesn't matter. Like, no matter how many times your wife says, I love you, no matter how many times, what you fill in the blank, and no matter what, I will never be enough. It will never be enough.
Hmm.
And so I auctioned off my significance.
Wow.
And, and, so, I mean, in that space for me, I, um, I auctioned off my ability to trust myself. So I'll tell you little subtle ways that this happened. Okay. Um, so I would ask people for their feedback, not because I genuinely wanted it, but because I was confused. Right. And I really wanted somebody just to make a decision.
Hmm. Interesting.
How I really know that I'm in a stuck place is if I go to some place like Taco Bell and I'm spending a minute in line trying to decide what I want.
Or that you actually went to Taco Bell to eat. There's
Yes,
that there's that
yes,
decision
yes,
too. Yeah.
yes,
Why
yes,
why am
yes,
I in Taco Bell? Like that's the first question.
yes, yes. And I am I am not writing the story then.
Yeah.
I am not writing the story then. I have given that pen to someone else. And if you are in a place where you've learned how to recognize that and acknowledge that without judging yourself, why, like you don't know it, but you are on the verge of a breakthrough.
Yeah. I
Like
I
if you can just tell that story, like I'm just like if you can just tell that story to yourself, man, it's powerful. So,
So how do you as a leader then create kind of the that self-trust evaluation for those that you are leading? So it's one thing to do the inner work yourself, but like how for these leaders on the call, how do they create the appropriate, safe, and you and I have talked about this. The workplace is not a family.
yep.
It it can resemble attributes of a healthy family, but the goal, the ideal of a workplace should not be we're one big, that is not the ideal to be one big happy family. Again, attributes, characteristics that are similar to a family dynamic, of course. But
Well, yeah. And by the way, like this is pet peeves I know both of ours. By the way, um, that's not necessarily a great thing. If you say we're going to be a family, like
that's a
for a
load of
lot of
work.
people, that is not a great term. Does that
Right.
make sense?
It's a load
Like
of
for a lot
work.
of people, they are not like that's not a great idea, right? They're thinking what, you
Right.
know. Um,
So how does the work, the cave work, the self-reflection, the self-trust strengthening, how do leaders on this call create the optimal conditions, not in a way that's overreaching or it's not
mhm,
therapy. We're not talking about that. Like,
right.
what are some really practical ways that a leader can do that?
So, is it okay if I take people through an experience and a tool after that that I think would be
Absolutely.
helpful?
You
Okay,
bet.
so let's just do it.
Okay.
Um, I so I want you to close your eyes if you're able to, if you're comfortable,
If you're not driving.
if you're not driving. Take a deep breath. Let's take one more. Eyes closed. I'm going to ask you a question. I don't want you to answer it out loud. I want you to sit with it, and then when it hits you, whatever it hits you, I want you to write it down. Here's the question. What is the story that you tell yourself about yourself or your leadership that you know isn't fully true? What's the story that you tell yourself about yourself or your leadership that you know isn't fully true? So we'll just have some seconds of silence here. And when that hits, just write it down. Just a few more seconds. And I would say this, and whatever came up for you, that story has cost you something.
Mm.
You may have a growing awareness of what it's cost you. It may be really clear where you're at in this point in your life, what it's cost you. Maybe it's cost you your confidence. Maybe it's cost you in your leadership. Maybe it's cost you in your relationships. Probably cost you your peace. Here is what I want you to hear. That story is not who you are.
Mm.
That is who you have been performing as.
Mm.
For me, when I said never enough, I'll never be enough, almost like actually the phrase for me was almost never enough, like carrots out there, like, oh, I'll get it. Was rest was like this elusive universe. Now, let's take it to another level.
Which, real quick, one of the things that I observed in that 2 minutes, it is incredibly difficult to hold silence with other people. Like, I think my foot started tapping about 20 seconds into that exercise. I was like, okay, we got to, because we actually had somebody join us right in the middle of that. And I was like,
Yep.
they're going to think the microphone's broken, like it's frozen, our screen's frozen. Like, it was very interesting just to be aware of like silence is such a powerful medium for
Yep.
reflection,
Yep.
especially when it's done with other people.
Yes. Yes. I want you to think of two people that you trust. Maybe people that you work with that you trust. Maybe just people in your life that you actually trust. Like you trust that they want the best for you. That they actually genuinely care about you. So you can do this now, or you can do it in a couple of hours. At some point today, I want you to do this. I want you to ask them. You want to text them, however you want to do it. I don't care. What do you see in me that I don't think I fully see in myself? What do you see in me that I don't think I fully see in myself? And when they respond, presuming that they respond, when they respond with whatever they respond with, the only thing you get to do is say, thank you. You receive it. It's not tennis. You're not playing tennis, right? It's like, oh, they gave me something. I'll give them something back.
And
Nope.
it's also not fishing. You're not fishing for more.
Correct. You receive it. You say, thank you. You say, thank you. When you do that, I could just tell you, you're leading well.
Mm.
Like that's man, like that's like this, that's vulnerability. Yeah, that's leadership.
Mm.
You just did something just in that moment that a lot of people never do. You looked at a lie in your life and you named it. That is self-trust. Like it's not about confidence. It's not about Jedi mind tricking yourself. Like let's go. Like it's a simple practice. It's not about feeling ready, right? One of the things I hear about is like I'm waiting for the right time. No, you're not. You're waiting for what'll be easy, right? It's never going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. It's the decision to do it. And let me share a tool, Cory, that I think would be helpful.
Yep.
Just a practical tool that's been helpful in my life along with this. I created about 6 years ago, I call it the BHB, the Brad Hill board. Okay.
Love it.
Yep. And I realized that I wanted to have a board of wisdom elders. And when I mean elders, that's not age specific. That's actually stage of life specific, but it's not age specific. I encourage you to fully engage in this tool and create your board. You can, Cory Scheer, the CSB, I'm seeing some of your, I don't care what you do. I don't care how you call it, but here's the 2 qualifications for this. Okay. 3 to 5 people, 7 people, whatever. Okay. Minimum 3. 2 things got to happen. You want the filter for the people on the board. 2 things got to happen. 1, they have to want the absolute best for you and the people you care most about. Like there's no hidden agendas with them. Does that make sense? Like these people, like they want the best for you and the people that you care most about.
Yeah.
First requirement. Second requirement, probably harder one, is they have to be willing to tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. And I'll tell you the 2 sides of the coin for this for me, and I'm going to share a couple of people that are on my board. I don't need somebody that's going to watch me drive the ditch and like the car into the ditch, right? Like they can't take control of it, but like they can, if this is happening, I want someone that will tell me if I've got, food in my teeth. I don't want to be super, but like if we're like that's a simple way to do it, right? But I want people who will tell me the truth. So like this has been a couple things. I've got a guy on my board named Paul, and his name's Paul Young, and he's a Jedi, and he has told me some of the hardest things I've ever heard in my life in the moment. But he's also told me that was important for me to own. He's told me some incredibly hard things that I didn't see about myself, like in a encouraging way. Like he's told me things that I really, why am I resistant to hear that I'm really good at this? Do you know what I mean? Like why is it like I trusted him. Like he's a guy, another guy I'll share on here named Dave Geenans. I mean, Dave was the guy that said, I don't want to lose my leader's edge. That's him. But love him, trust him. Anytime I'm feeling stuck in life, or I just check in, like I've got 7 people on my board right now. It is, I really encourage you to create your own board. Like I call mine the BHB, whatever you want to call yours. I don't care what you call it. Right. And there are people that come off and there are people that come on, but they have to be people who know the way home, and you see it in their life. They're doing this in their life. They know the way home for them, and they will tell you the truth. And know that what they want is they want to see you flourish. They want the best for you and the people that you care about. So
it's good.
I would encourage you as a takeaway. Okay. Who are 3 people right now that could be those people for you? Who are 3 people? If you can't think of 3, that is your cave.
Yeah.
If you can't think of 3, that is your cave. And I'll share this as well. Okay. I just thought to discuss the anti-board. Some of us have anti-boards in our life, like the anti-BHB. Here's the harder question with this. Who's currently speaking into your life who doesn't meet those two requirements? Who is currently speaking into your life
Mm.
that they have enabled you? Maybe they tell you what you want to hear. They have alternate agendas that you kind of sense,
Mm.
but you won't name.
Mhm.
And you have given them equity in your story. You have given them the pen in your story. Don't
Yeah.
don't like why?
Right.
Why? And then this is not a friendship problem. This is a self-trust problem.
Mm. Yeah.
So,
So Brad, so good. And Paul Young, for some of you, that name may sound familiar. He wrote just a, culture shaping book called The Shack that was turned into a movie. And when Paul gets 15 minutes on the phone with you, oh my gosh. It's definitely a buckle up moment. And he speaks the same way that he writes, very vivid and very direct. And it's amazing. So Brad, I wanted to we're about 15 minutes from wrapping up. And I do want to encourage if anybody has, maybe you've got a question for Brad or you've got just a comment, a self-reflection, an aha, something that you'd be willing to share with the group, please just drop that into text or raise your emoticon, your emoji hand on the reactions part of your Zoom button there. But Brad, I know I'd love to kind of wrap up our time with this. I know values is something for you personally that's very, very important. It's really important for you right now as you are in this kind of unique season and you've had to do some different type of cave work over the last year that you've never
mhm.
had to do before. But I want to then, if you could kind of speak to that, but then link that over to why values for a leader within and also developing and establishing those values, it cannot be trite. It cannot be obligatory. It cannot be basic. Like, talk about why values are so unbelievably critical. It's not just something up on a wall next to your successory of the person rowing the whatever, the rowboat, in the silhouette, whatever,
Mhm.
all of this accessories. Like, how do you
Yep.
move the values from the wall into the day to day? And why are the values so critical to doing the critical work of not only going into the cave, but also breaking through that cave?
So I'll share how the work for me and my clarity on that topic, on that space. I say topic like it's everything, um, but and then how it impacted major life decisions in my story. Okay, um, so like I said, I had the privilege to lead a nonprofit that the immersive work heart connection seminars. I was doing that until like 3 years ago, um, and I just had there's just some internal friction for me as um, I was out 26 weekends out of the year and my kid was 3 and I didn't like that. And I had not clarified my values then. It just felt, you
Mm.
know, it felt unaligned and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And then I did some work with a couple friends and, and got really clear on what my values are in this season of my life.
Mm.
And I'm going to say this like it is very important not to be vague in this space, to be crystal clear because this will be an Uber filter for your life.
Mm.
So values for me, what I realized was one, I want my family to flourish. That is my wife and my kid. And I'm a part of the family, so it's not me sacrificing for them. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Like I'm not sacrificing myself and like growing later to resent it. Like I'm a part of the family. Okay. So I want them to flourish emotionally, financially, relationally, physically, all the things. Um, And here's the important part for me. Like it's not a should. Okay. Like I had a friend that used to have a little thing on his desk that said, "Don't should on me." Right? Like he would say that. Like the should is very much a shame word. Okay.
Okay.
Um, like like it was not a should. I'm not trying to Jedi mind trick myself to make it true. It was true. I was just stating it. Okay. That's number one. Number two was I wanted to create a space, a business that help people and leaders who want to flourish, who want to, and that's everything. It's in leadership. Uh, that's all the things financially, relationally, emotionally, etc. Once I got crystal clear on that, I realized that the misalignment I felt in my life was that I was doing number two, but number one was not happening. That was the misalignment I felt. I was like, oh my gosh, that's why like something's off.
And maybe justifying the lack of providing for your family or having them flourish,
Yep.
justifying that deficit by trying to overcompensate with the
Yeah.
settlement.
Uh,
Like,
yeah.
we'll just average this thing out.
For sure. See
Yeah.
it. Look at all this great stuff, right? Look at all this great stuff. And, and it, again, I'm not going to, I have no judgment for you for what those values are.
Right.
Like I would just say that it's very important for you to be curious about what they actually are and write them down. Not what you feel like they should be, not what, don't let somebody else put a purpose on you.
Yep.
Okay. Like this is not about somebody else who wrote a great book and that sounds great. And I'll do this. Like that's when the rubber meets the road. If they're not your values and things get hard and you get indecisive, right? Then
Yep.
you will scapegoat them.
Well,
Okay.
and when you encounter somebody, and there are multiple, I mean, everybody that I know that is on this call, I know what they value, what their values are. I mean, I think about the first time that I had coffee with Andre Davis in Waldo in Kansas City. It took me
Andre,
about it took me about
love that dude.
4 seconds to not just understand Andre's values, but to
Yeah.
like fully experience them. I'm not kidding. It was like, oh.
Yep. Yep.
And so like I wonder too, Brad, like if you've got, for example, if you're a leader in a role where there's something off about the values, or maybe what is really being lived out is not actually what the stated values are. I wonder if for a leader within an organization, maybe that's the first cave that you've got to really go into.
I think that's a great point, Cory. And so I'll just give you a real practical tool, okay, that you can do right now. When's the last time you took 2 days of PTO just for yourself to do that work?
Mm, mm.
When's the last time you took PTO for you? And I'm just asking, like, here's what is really interesting. For me, you'll know when you're on the verge of something how quickly resistance pops up.
Yeah, that's good. That's so
Like
good.
you'll know when you're on the verge, like if there's some, like I'll tell you this too, like when you're like disproportionately cynical or sarcastic about something,
Yep.
holy cat, like you don't know it, but like you are on the verge of something.
Yep.
Okay. Um, if the resistance is like, well, I don't have time to do that, blah 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 blah. It's like, hmm,
Yep. That's so
what
true.
the story behind that is, I don't have time to get clear and learn to trust myself.
Yeah. Hey, Brad, Andre, you're right there. I gotta ask you, can you share like what are your values, Andre?
Well, first of all, good morning. Love the content. I'm sorry I was off video. I was working on a couple things while I was listening in, so I'm multitasking my brain, which is what I do. Yeah, it's interesting that this topic to me is it's for me the purpose of what I do and the work that I do is always about impact on people.
Hmm.
How do we make better humans that are responsible for humans to create better humans, right? And so that is often with the listening ear, obviously. Um, we have our agendas. We got to get rid of our agendas, try to figure out what people are trying to do, help people. So it's a go-giver philosophy. And
Mm,
so my values are tied, be a good human. Just be a good human. It's really not hard, man. Just be good to people and the people that are bad to you, stay away from. It's really that simple for me.
Hmm.
thank you, Andre. And here's what I love most about you, Andre, is that like that's true.
Mm.
Doesn't mean that you're perfect, but that
Yep.
is your pursuit. That is your truth.
Yep.
And I'm sure that I'm sure that as you have continued to go deeper into that work, it has probably surprised you how it's almost like it magnetizes good humans to you because of that.
You know this, right? You guys are really good at what you do. You attract what you are,
Hmm.
Yes.
flat out. So if you're
Hmm.
attracting really bad people or the people that are contentious that are just like, man, this guy is so, you have to think about what are you presenting yourself as?
Hmm.
So good.
Yeah, of
Hmm.
So good. Thank you, Andre.
course.
I could just go down there. I mean, we don't have 3 hours, but there are literally everybody that I know on this call. We could talk for 10 minutes about how I've experienced you. I mean, the fact that you are on this Zoom conversation to go deeper into what self-trust looks like, trusting within, like that says so much about your commitment to your values. Brad, we're close to time. Number one, thank you. Thanks for just doing a very brief but meaningful, like just a pause. Like it has been a frantic week for our family. My son got married on Saturday. You were there, Brad. You were in yeah, it was amazing.
Yep.
I want to share one story, talk about trust within. I will never forget about it, or I will never forget it, and I will always think about it. But about 20 minutes before the ceremony started, I mean, it's game time. We've got people, they're not just in the wedding area, they are sitting in the wedding area. And I'm in the groom's room with my son and my two other boys, younger boys who are groomsmen, and my future son-in-law, who is the best man for my son, but and also they're getting married. My son-in-law and my daughter are getting married in less than in 9 weeks. Lori, this is little Kalen and Isaac, like little Isaac, like he's married now. Lori, can you believe it? So, and Lori knows my two babies from many years ago at the YMCA. But all that to say, like we were 20 minutes before the ceremony, and we could not find the ring, the groom's ring. Like Isaac could not find his ring. And now I know that at every wedding, something goes wrong. Always, there's always something, but like losing a ring is kind of a big deal. That's not like not having enough wine. That's losing the ring. And it was a very interesting moment. And it was kind of, Brad, you talked about it a little bit earlier, 15 years ago, similarly, I would have just completely freaked out. I would have totally panicked. But what was so amazing, number one, what I was experiencing was peace, like we're going to get this figured out. But number two, I watched my son, 21 years old. He goes, it's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out. Like his values were not about the ring. His values were about whatever we have to endure and overcome. Like the wedding is still going to occur at 5 o'clock. I'm still marrying the love of my life. So anyway, kind of a cool pivot moment. And I just paused, and my younger son looked at me, and I kind of looked at him, and it kind of triggered this thought of like, well, Isaac, why don't you just use my ring? And nobody needs to know. We don't have to announce it. You just use my ring. And then we'll figure out the details after that. And he looked at me and he goes, kind of proclaimed to everybody else in the room, he was like, I'm going to use my dad's ring. And there was something so powerful and symbolic about watching your loved one kind of embrace, like, you know what could have been a disaster or super frantic or whatever. He's like, no, no, I'm confident in myself. We're going to use my ring. Now, The punchline is they still haven't found the ring. So that's not good, but they do have ring insurance, which that's also very good. So, but what a powerful moment to watch my son, put my ring on. And it's just a beautiful moment, And so we are, as you said, Brad, we bring into our workplace all of the things from the joy of a wedding like that all the way to the trauma of my father-in-law passing away a few weeks ago. Like that's the bracket of our current set of emotions right now. That's what I'm bringing into a Zoom call, into every room, whatever it is. And it's the same for all of us. And so I think what's most critical about the whole topic of self-trust, of self-care, of doing the work necessary to do the deeper work within, to not be afraid to enter into the cave, to surround yourself with the right people who are on your board that can help you navigate and walk through the cave for that breakthrough. It's so critical because if we do not do that, we will ultimately be left to our own devices. And when we are left to our own devices, we are ultimately left alone. And nobody should have to journey through this life or this work that we do as leaders alone. I mean, that's not fulfilling or joyful at all. And so, Brad, thank you. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your friendship. I'm grateful that you were on my board, and I hope that everybody on the call engages with you in some way, whether it's connecting with you on LinkedIn, maybe reaching out to you with a direct message. What are some of the ways that they can connect with you, Brad, if they would like to?
So I'll put in the chat, and I'll send some notes to you, Cory, that might be helpful. You can email to people, but email, first of all, Brad, twh@gmail.com. I'll put this in the chat. And that's the way, the best way right now to reach me. Or you can text or call me at 913-530-2373. Seriously, text or call me anytime. People tell me, it's like, I don't want to bug you. I was like, well, I ain't got to answer.
Yep. And you're active on LinkedIn, so they can message you as well.
Yes. And if I can help you and your culture, or you as a leader personally, create a space where people know that they're cared for and they're fully engaged and they are appreciated and valued as a human being in that space, I would love to do that. We do a lot of tailored immersives for spaces. So I'll type that in here too, but I would love to help in any way I can. So
right. Brett, thank you. And thanks to each of you. Thanks for those of you that I know, either a little bit or a whole lot. I'm grateful for how you all have demonstrated such strong trust within yourself. And then therefore, I've experienced that. And for your encouragement in my own journey, I'm deeply grateful. And also, I hope that today was challenging. I hope that it felt appropriately unsettling in a good, positive, generative way. And as we do so much work in order to build trust and to strengthen workplace culture, the place that we must begin, we have to start within. We have to. Because if we don't do it, the ripple effect will be felt and experienced by everyone in every layer of the organization. And so thank you. Thanks for carving out some time. Appreciate each of you. More details to come on our next Trust Lab soon. I'll post that to LinkedIn. If I can be of help in any way to you individually or more from a group or a organizational standpoint, please let me know. And again, it's been an honor, Brad, to be with you, and it's been an honor to be with you with everyone on the call. So farewell for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.